Hello everyone, I hope you're doing alright. Today we're talking about the Sawbones Scoundrel, the healer that you choose if you want to flex that you have the highest heal parse. Brief disclaimer as usual, I am not an expert on this spec, I'm just a nerd. I play a lot of SWTOR. If there's anything that I missed, please leave them down in the comments below. I'm sure your fellow players would appreciate it. Alright? Alright. Tertiary stats. You only need Alacrity up to 7.2% and then throw everything else into crit and you should be ready to roll. You can pretty much dump every other stat in the game. For our tactical, I personally like Diagnostic Probe. We'll talk about it in a little bit here. Some people like Critical Surgery. I personally think that Diagnostic Probe is just more generally useful, but that's just my own personal preference. For our legendaries here, Tactician package is going to give us basically a flat 10% crit. It's pretty fantastic. Locked and Loaded package is currently bugged, but for the sake of future-proofing this guide, it'll become unbugged soon enough, so just get it. It's going to be just a flat 5% healing. It's very, very nice, if not that interesting. For our combat style, mandatory is Medical Burst. It's going to make your Underworld Medicine heal up to 8 allies in the area. It's very, very nice. I personally like Clever Surrender. That's just me though. It's going to give us an extra little bit of dodge, which is pretty nice. Some people like Dirty Kick, especially in PvP. It's kind of up to you. Moving the line here, I like Colto Mark. It's going to make that tank healing just a little bit easier for us. Some people will run for the nutrient-rich technologies. It's going to essentially take 30 seconds off of our pugnacity. Our pugnancy, I'm sorry. It's kind of up to you if you want to run this one. I personally just like Colto Mark instead for the tank healing. All three of these options are viable. I like Healer's Edge. It's going to be a flat 5% healing increase. It's pretty fantastic. Some people like In the Zone for the extra pugnacity heal burst. It's nice, but it's not as consistent. And some people really like Hot Streak, especially in PvP. It's kind of up to you. I much rather have consistency, which is why I like to run the Healer's Edge. Scar Tissue is pretty fantastic. Some people will take the Flea out of the scene. It's kind of up to you here. I personally like the DR myself. With the line here, Keep It Cool is pretty fantastic. Some people in PvP will run Skedaddle, but for me, I like having the energy management just be a little bit easier, so I like Keep It Cool. Trick Move is pretty much the go-to for us. Some people will take Flash Grenade, but personally, I like the Trick Move. It's going to give us a little bit more of those upper hands, which is very nice. Finally, you can either take Scramble, which is going to give you more dodges, which is very useful, especially since we have a very limited defensive cooldown kit here. Some people like Back At You because it's more fun. I can't really argue with them. It is more fun, but it's kind of up to you. All right. For those of you who are going to be leveling in this spec, you need to know how to do like the basics of damage here. So here's essentially what you need to know. Your two abilities that are going to be spamming on cooldown will be Backblast, boop, does a whole bunch of damage to the target, and Blaster Whip. We'll talk about Blaster Whip in a second here. When you don't have these two abilities available, you can hit them with a fat Vital Shot, which is pretty nice, or, Quick Shot if you really want that little extra bit of burst damage. For AoE situations, throw a Thermal Grenade, which is very nice, Thermal Grenade, boop, and then drop a Bushwhack, and that's really all the AoE you need. If you're going to be leveling, I'd recommend not doing it as a healer myself, but if you want to, those are kind of the basic abilities that you need to know. Just spam them over and over again. If you get low on energy, use Flurry of Bolts and you should be ready to roll. So just anything that involves your shotgun or your Blaster Whip, and then an AoE's Thermal Grenade and Bushwhack, and that's kind of all you have to know. All right, DPS really isn't our primary concern, especially as a healer. You can throw in like a Vital Shot sometimes in Rage to help out your team. We'll talk about the advantages of Blaster Whip in a hot second here. But for now, that's kind of all you need to know. Now, let's go talk about healing, and actually let's hop to the fleet real quick where we can demonstrate some of our abilities. All right, 2 seconds. All right, now, fair warning, there is actually a lot going on with Sawbones, so this might take a little while. However, once you understand the fundamentals of actually what's happening in your game, this becomes a lot more simpler to handle. All right? All right. The most important ability and the kind of the foundation of this entire spec is our slow release med pack. Slow release med pack on its own heals for like 18,000 health over the course of 21 seconds. It's pretty nice, and it stacks twice. So on its own, it will heal for like 40k without even critting over the course of the next 20 seconds. It's pretty fantastic. On average, we can maintain 3 to 4 of these without really missing out on any raid healing. So what you can do is say these 3 friends are in my group. I could give you a heal, and myself a heal, and it can be expected to maintain our slow release med pack on all 3 of us throughout the duration of the entire fight, while also being able to heal the rest of the raid. Typically, it's like 3 to 4 people is the aim here. So get 3 to 4 people, like this Mr. Cassius Rex guy that apparently wants to heal me. Thanks, dude, I appreciate it. So aim to have 3 to 4 of your raid members ticking with your slow release med packs at all times. All right? All right. But say I have my slow release med pack on and I don't want to just refresh it the boring way of just reapplying slow release med pack, right? That's kind of sad. That's kind of very sad. But what we can do instead is use 2 abilities here called Kotal Pack and Emergency Med Pack to re-tick our slow release med pack. You can see it's about to fall off. If I use a Kotal Pack, boop, the duration of slow release med pack is refreshed. This way we get a little bit of extra healing on top of the extra reticking of our slow release med pack. The same applies for our emergency med pack. You can see here it's ticking down, boop, emergency med pack to myself, and voila. We now have slow release med pack on for essentially another 21 seconds. It's pretty fantastic. So again, these 2 abilities here, Kotal Pack and emergency med pack, boop, boop, all of them have the ability to refresh the duration of our slow release med pack. But there's a problem. You can see here that I'm suddenly unable to use my Kotal Pack and my emergency med pack. What's going on here? Well, we rely on using these things called upper hands. Upper hands are like the tan guy in your buff tray that's giving like your fist pump. Those are your upper hands. We consume upper hands anytime we use a Kotal Pack or an emergency med pack. All right, so you can see here we have 1. If I use, say, a Kotal Pack, boop, it's going to disappear, and now I need to find other ways to generate these upper hands. All right, still following along? So Kotal Pack and emergency med pack both consume upper hands. We need to generate upper hands. But Biggs, I hear you ask, how do we generate upper hands? Well, I'm glad you asked me. First of all, we have this little buff right here called Med Pack Mastery, which means that our slow release med pack, which we just mentioned, our Kotal Cloud and our Kotal Waves, we'll talk about those in a second, have a 10% chance to grant you an upper hand. So essentially, our heal over time abilities have a relatively decent chance to be proccing upper hands. This is part of the reason why we want to be keeping our slow release med pack on so many targets, is so that we have an extra chance to be generating those upper hands. It can only happen once every 6 seconds or so, but it's a fairly consistent way for us to be generating those upper hands without really having to worry about it. All right? All right, so if you can see here, if we start using these abilities over and over again, eventually we will start passively generating these upper hands, assuming we get lucky. There we go, there's our first upper hand, etc. But that's not necessarily a surefire way to be generating upper hands, right? We need some like reestablished ways. Well, you've actually covered a way that we can be using or generating an upper hand. That is our Blaster Whip. Blaster Whip, if you hit a target, boop, you get an upper hand. That way you do a little damage with your healing. It's pretty nice. Additionally, every time we come out of stealth, so you see here I enter a stealth, no upper hands. If I exit stealth, boop, 2 upper hands ready to rock and roll. Pretty fantastic. This is a way that you can be generating them out of combat. So if I stealth out and stealth back in again, voila, I am up to the cap of 3 upper hands. Pretty darn nice. You can also abuse this by using Disappearing Act, with it, which is our stealth out. So if you're in the middle of combat and you're like, oh shoot, I need tactical advantages right now, you can always smash Disappearing Act and come back and get an instant 2 upper hands. I'm sorry, I just call them tactical advantages. It's a force of habit. My apologies. So stealthing out, grants 2 upper hands. If you come back in, pretty nice. Blaster Whip, upper hand, passively generating through our HOTS. But there are some other ways we can be generating upper hands as well. For example, our Pugnacity generates 1 upper hand, and it's going to make either our Underworld Medicine and our Kotal Pack instantly activate. So if you remember before, Kotal Pack was like saying, oh, you need to use a cast, Underworld Medicine, big old cast. Kotal Pack, big old cast. Nah, bump that. If you use Pugnacity, they're going to start to glow, and then you can activate them instantly. Boop, no more big old cast. It's pretty darn nice. It also gives you a fair bit of alacrity, so it helps you kind of maintain your energy throughout the course of a fight. All right? Additionally, we can be using our Trick Move. Trick Move is our leap. So if you see here, Mr. Zod, I'm going to leap to you, sir. Boop. Leapt to Zod, and now I have an extra upper hand. It's pretty nice. It's a passive way that we can be generating these upper hands while still like being relatively safe. So if you ever need an emergency keep calling them tactical advantage. I'm so sorry. Emergency upper hand. You can always resort back to Trick Move. Finally, we have the very consistent way of generating upper hands in the form of Underworld Medicine. Underworld Medicine is a fairly large healer. We're going to give Mr. Denton a fair bit of healing here. If you use upper hand or Underworld Medicine, boop, does a whole bunch of healing. It's pretty nice. This is like our main way of performing major heals on a target. We'll talk about more in a second. It has no cooldown, and it gives you an upper hand. All right? It's a pretty fantastic ability, especially when you use it on yourself. For example, we were watching before, like if I heal this dude, it's going to heal him for a fair bit of healing. Not too shabby. Because of the tactical that we're taking here, called Medical Burst, if you use Underworld Medicine on yourself, it will heal 8 allies in the area. So just watch this little cloud of people, and boop. Oh, that's a lot of healing. 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 You kind of get the idea, right? Use Underworld Medicine on yourself, and it heals all the allies in the area. It's pretty fantastic, and it gives you those extra upper hands that we could be using on, like, our Colto pack and on our Emergency Med pack. It's pretty darn fantastic. I know we just talked through a lot here, so let's cover it one more time just to make sure that we're all on the same page. All right? Slow Release Med pack. Stacks up to 2 times. Can be applied to every member of your raid, but shoot for like 3 to 4 members being covered by it. That should get you enough ticks to be passively generating enough healing. Usually that's going to be like on your tanks and on yourself. So that's kind of what you want to be shooting for. To keep Slow Release Med pack ticking on ourselves, we have a couple of options in the form of Colto pack, which does a lot of healing and consumes upper hand, and our Emergency Med pack, which also refreshes our Slow Release Med pack and consumes an upper hand, does a little bit less healing though. These abilities both consume upper hands, which we can generate by either using Underworld Medicine as a very consistent way to do it. We can hit someone with a blaster whip to generate an upper hand. We can leap to someone with our trick move to generate an upper hand. We can use our pugnacity to generate an upper hand. We can leave stealth to get 2 upper hands, all right? You have options at your disposal here to be passively generating those upper hands beyond just the passive upper hands we get every like 6 seconds or so, all right? All right. That's the fundamentals of maintaining your Slow Release Med pack. Try to keep it up on 3 people, and you should be ready to rock and roll. But what are we doing? Actually, no, let's back up real quick. One interaction I did not talk about is that when we use our Colto pack, it will make our next Emergency Med pack automatically crit. So it's a great way to go like Colto pack into Emergency Med pack for that little bit of extra healing, especially on like a tank. All right? So when you see your Emergency Med pack glowing, that's what it means. Additionally, every so often when you use Emergency Med pack, it'll instantly re-give you an upper hand. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. It's just going to happen sometimes. All right? All right. But what are we doing between maintaining our Slow Release Med pack on 3 to 4 targets? Well, I'm glad you asked me. We have a couple of tools in our disposal to be keeping the rest of the raid alive. Most of them are massive AoEs. We already discussed one in the form of our Underworld Medicine. Underworld Medicine is probably one of my favorites because it's going to be giving us those upper hands, which is very, very nice. And if you stand in the crowd of your entire raid team and use it on yourself, it does a whole boatload of healing, especially when they all crit like that. That's a lot of healing. It's a lot of healing. It's very nice. But what if we don't want to be butchering our energy management like this? Well, we have a couple other options here. The first is our Colto Cloud. Colto Cloud can be used on any target, so we're going to use it on Mr. Roman here. And now Roman and 4 friends in the area will all be healed over the course of the next 9 seconds. Additionally, Roman's going to get some extra healing from us while our Colto Cloud is on him. It's very nice because of the tactical or utility that we took here called Colto Mark. What this means is that as long as Colto Cloud is ticking on him, I do more healing to him. It's pretty nice. You want to be using this mostly on like your tanks, so that way they're like sucking up more heals. So if you see a tank, just slap them with a Colto Cloud, and then you should be doing a fair bit more healing to them to really help them out and keep them up to snuff. When we're not using Colto Cloud, we have the option of using Colto Waves. Colto Waves does not consume that much energy here. If you see Colto Waves, boop, 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 does a lot of healing in a large area. It's also not limited to where you are. So as we remembered previously, Underworld Medicine has to be used on yourself. So if I'm standing away from my group, I'm not going to heal anyone around me. Colto Waves, on the other hand, I could throw it on the group if they're standing all the way over there, or if the melee is all doing their thing, I can throw Colto Waves on them without standing on top of them, right? Cult of Waves also is great for our energy management. As we saw previously, Underworld Medicine can very quickly destroy all of your energy. For example, if I spam this over and over, I will do a whole bunch of area of effect healing very quickly, but the lower my energy goes, the slower it regenerates. All right? It's kind of sad. It's kind of very sad. Now, we do have a get out of jail free card here in the form of our Cool Head. Cool Head will very quickly regenerate a whole bunch of energy, which is very nice. You get it once every 2 minutes or so. It's kind of your one get out of jail free card. However, if you mess it up again, we do have a second way to be regenerating that energy in the form of our diagnostic scan. Now, diagnostic scan, I'll be honest, does not do a whole lot of healing. It's going to heal you for like 8K over the course of 2 seconds, which is not that impressive, right? It's not that impressive. But every time it crits, it's going to restore 2 energy, and it's not going to consume any energy, right? So if you don't have a Cool Head, if you drop below like 60% energy, I'd recommend tabbing over and using a diagnostic scan, so that way you're not completely destroying your energy management, because if you run out of energy, you're not doing any healing. All right? So please play it safe, drop below 60%, diagnostic scan, you'll thank me later. All right? So our 3 big AoE heals are the Cult of Cloud on the tank. Mr. Roman here, thank you very much. Our big Cult of Waves to be maintaining our energy and healing a big AoE. And then finally, smashing Underworld Medicine on ourselves over and over and over again to make sure that we get the big fat Culto burst. It's very, very nice. Underworld Medicine, very underrated ability. All right? All right. So, let's recap very quickly because I know I just went through a lot. Slow release med pack on 3 targets. And I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. All right? But pound this in your head, understand the fundamentals, and then we'll be ready to roll. All right? Slow release med pack. 2 stacks. 3 to 4 targets. That'll give you enough time to heal the rest of your raid. To refresh slow release med pack, we consume upper hands. To use Culto pack, boop, does a whole bunch of healing, which will then also make our emergency pack, which also refreshes our slow release med pack, critically hit. Both of these consume tactical, I'm sorry, I keep calling them tactical advantage. I'm so sorry. Upper hands. Both these consume upper hands. We generate upper hands through a whole bunch of different abilities. I feel like we've talked to that all enough. When we are not just maintaining all of these slow release med packs on our 3 to 4 targets, we can be using our Culto Cloud on the tank. We can be using our Culto Waves on the group. And then we can be spanning Underworld Medicine on ourselves to get those big burst heals. Let's quickly talk about our tactical. Our tactical here is the Diagnostic Probe, which means that activating Emergency Med Pack reduces the activation time of your next Underworld Medicine by 0.25 seconds. So if you see here, if I use Underworld Medicine, it's like a 2-second cast time. That's kind of a long cast. If I say use an Emergency Med Pack twice in a row, I have 2 stacks here of Underworld Medicine. Now it's going to only take me 1.5 seconds. That's pretty nice. If you manage to get to 3 stacks of Emergency Med Pack here, your Underworld Medicine will be instantly activated, right? So now I can go boop and instantly generate that massive heal on myself and my entire group. It's very, very nice. It's the reason that I like this tactical so much, because that way, while I am maintaining my slow release med packs and all my friends, I can be generating these stacks of instantly cast Underworld Medicine to do a whole bunch of burst healing on my raid. All right? All right. Speaking of raid, we do have a raid buff here in the form of Stack the Deck. Stack the Deck is pretty awesome. It gives everyone a 10% crit chance. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. You should probably smash it whenever you open up the fight. It just helps your DPS do more damage, which, you know, it's a good thing. Boss dies faster. You don't have to worry about the mistakes they're going to make along the way. Let's talk quickly about our defensive cooldowns. We have 2 primary ones. The first is going to be our dodge. Dodge gives us a 200% chance to dodge our melee and range attacks. That's anytime you are shot with a blaster, anyone tries to punch you in the face, anyone tries to stab you with a lightsaber, you have a 200% chance to dodge. Very nice. We also have a very extended dodge here of like 5 seconds because we have the utility here. So it lasts for a good long while of not getting attacked. It's pretty fantastic. Additionally, every time that we're attacked, because we took Scramble, the cooldown of dodge is reduced by 3 seconds. So you can get dodge back like every 30 seconds. So it's pretty nice. Our terrible cooldown is our defense screen. Defense screen gives you a little absorb shield that absorbs 3 or 30k damage. It's pretty bad, not gonna lie to you, but it beats poke in the eye, so we kind of have to take it. All right? All right. I wish there was more I could be telling you, but frankly, that's kind of all there is to know. Let's go find a raid to demonstrate this in, and then we'll be on our way. All right? All right. All right, so prepping for this fight here, we did a couple of things. The first thing we did is we applied our slow release med pack to everyone. That's going to make sure that we're passively generating a whole bunch of our upper hands, which is very nice. Additionally, it'll help the group survive a little bit of damage if they choose to take any in the opener. But for the most part, I want to focus on keeping my med packs on my 2 tanks here, because obviously they're the tanks, they're the ones that are going to be taking all the damage, and then myself because I'm greedy. I wish there was a better answer than that. There's not really. Healing is mostly focused on putting out fires. Sometimes the DPS do something stupid. They stand in like AoE. Sometimes the tank are in desperate need of healing. It is our job as the healer to understand what fires are the most likely to burn our house down and what fires can kind of be pushed off until further notice. So this is only really learned through completing the actual fights themselves. For example, in Nephra, I'm acutely aware that the cleanse is way more dangerous than everything else here. So when the cleanse goes out, most of the healing and my attention goes into cleansing the people that can't cleanse themselves, because I'm aware that's what's most dangerous, right? A lot of healing comes down to just understanding what's going on in the fight and knowing what you can put off and knowing what you actually need to heal through. So you can see here, by maintaining our slow release med pack on the 2 primary people who are taking the damage, being the tanks and then myself, we are generating a whole lot of extra of our upper hands, which is very nice. And it gives us a lot of time to be using our abilities to be refreshing our med packs and doing a fit of that AoE healing. It's pretty fantastic. Brief note about healing in general: you kind of have to play team mom when you're the healer. You kind of have to fix the boo-boos that everyone else makes. This gives you full-fledged permission to flame all the DPS for not doing well, because what are they going to do? Find another healer? Every DPS lives in constant fear that they're going to be benched to heals, so you have full permission to flame them for their terrible mistakes, because every time that they make a mistake, you're the one that's going to have to correct it. All right? So you have my full permission to be a complete jerk about it, because frankly, you're healing, you're doing the job that not a lot of people actually want to. You can kind of get away with a lot. All right? All right. You can see here, based on the raid, we have a whole lot of those AoE heals, which is really, really useful, especially in an operation standpoint, because we can be maintaining that single target heals on our 2 tanks and ourselves, obviously, and then when the time comes when we really need it, we have those massive AoE fluffs that can bring our group back up to full. Say when a massive AoE goes out, we have the opportunity to use our Underworld med pack and do a whole bunch of raid healing on ourselves. You can see here, boop, look at all that raid healing. Oh, it's beautiful. It's lovely. Cult waves going out. Fantastic, lovely AoE heals. Frankly, just kind of hit the green buttons. If all else fails, just kind of like hit the green buttons. All right? All right. That's kind of all I have to say about healing in this spec. It's pretty straightforward if you understand the basic mechanics of it and don't try to do too much. I kind of have to pump a little too hard here at the end, or I'd probably get a little bit too greedy going for that big heal parse. So at the end of the day, the heal numbers don't really matter as long as the group is alive. No one really cares about your hero parse, so it kind of is what it is. Additionally, we want to be as efficient as possible with our heals. You're going to look in the top right-hand corner here where it says personal. The HPS number is at like 42k, but my effective healing is only at like 30k, which is kind of sad that I'm only like 70% efficient. So you kind of want to make that as efficient as humanly possible. However, with operative heals, we do end up with a lot more fluff just based on how many AoEs we actually put out. A lot of times you'll end up healing like a group that is half healed already, so you're not going to be quite as efficient, but just know no one really cares about your heal parse. All right, the status is to stay, kind of keep your ego in check if at all possible. Well, that's all I really have to say about that. If you have any questions about the Sawbones Scoundrel, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I apologize for all the times I said tactical advantage instead of upper hands. Old habits die hard. All right, kind of just what it is. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you later. All right? All right. Bye-bye. Oh, and shout out to VHurt for helping me put this guy together. I picked his brain a little bit to make this all happen. So thanks, dude. I appreciate you.